evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Live Chat with Josie. Today, I'm proud to be speaking to Mr. Segun Awosanya, who I'm going to ask right now to introduce himself the best way he loves. I mean, it's a culture here on Live Chat with Josie that I ask every guest to introduce themselves. Exactly who is Segun Awosanya?
Yeah, thank you very much. My name is Segun Awosanya. I am the president and founder of Social Intervention Advocacy Foundation, CF. And that's an organization that has brought Nigerians so many advocacies that have actually make their lives a little bit better than it used to be. And that's talking about responsible parenting, EndSARS, Reform Police NG, NIS 2000, just to mention a few. I am an advocate and also a civil rights advocate within Nigeria.
All right, Segun. Obviously, there is a lot happening in Nigeria right now as we speak, or rather in the past few weeks. But as an activist, you have single-handedly fought against police brutality long before the EndSARS protests. What motivated you into this battle against police brutality?
Yeah, there have been, as you know, CF has always focused on holistic deep dive advocacy geared towards the criminal justice system, especially as pertaining to police welfare and reform. We have undertaken several analyses over the last 4 years, and it's a task that will require an intentional and deliberate commitment from all stakeholders to achieve and implement, across best practices. So the protest itself, has been a painful catalyst and a watershed for that matter, but we need to heal as a nation, and we must heal our policing, and to ensure that we have something that represents Nigeria, something that benefits society, and something that works for all Nigerians as a whole. I believe that something good will emerge from this, like a phoenix from this fire.
All right, but for someone to start such, an initiative, it means that something had happened. Have you ever been harassed by the police?
No, I have not actually. I think the issue is about my empathy. I feel for the common man, and I also know the history of Nigerian police to the point where I can identify with their problems because I know they're also victims of the same system. The Nigerian police have gone through a lot of hell, if I may use that word, over the years. From 1966, when police system and structure, was seen to be a blessing to Nigeria as a whole. The Nigerian police itself used to be the brain behind intelligence, the brain behind operations in terms of security operations in Nigeria. They used to be the darling of the Nigerian security because of their extent in terms of reach, because of their quality in terms of training, because of their manner of investigating crime, due to the amount of professionals that we have in there. So as a whole, even the military rule then in those days have police embedded in the administration, for that cohesion that is needed in order to govern the state. But over the years, we've been having, every time we have a military coup, the police gets punished for this because it is seen as a lapses within the police structure that allows for the coup to be successful. So in 1966 and 1976, over the years, for every time generals are killed or heads of states are killed, police are punished for it, and they are dismembered, for this sake, for this purpose. And until the point in 1976, when the brain behind the intelligence of police were pulled out to that led to the formation of the NSO, National Security Organization, which became the DSS today. So while all this, I'll call it leadership vandalism, was happening with the police as it were, and the balkanization of the police system, the police became a shadow of itself to the point where the act that created the police, which is the Police Act of 1943, became prominent as a guide to how police operate in Nigeria, which means they literally operate with impunity. They literally operate without without the apprehension of the future, based on the fact that there's no future for every police officer. So with that, police started becoming a victim of bad leadership, or bad governance, or bad, everything negative that you can ever think of, to the point where their budgets don't get passed up to beyond 30%, if at all. So with that, there is no room for training, there's no room for retraining, there's no room for buying equipment, there's no room for situating or redirecting the mindset of the people that will put guns in their hands around our society. So over the years, as of 1999, when we returned to the civil rule, we realized that we are lagging behind in terms of the workforce within the police structure. So we had about 100,000 police officers at that time, as of 1999, and with a population of 190 million. So with this, the government of the day felt we need to recruit more men. But unfortunately, of course, our leaders then was a military man turned civilian. So as at that time, he just felt we need more men. So we need to be recruiting 50,000 people, police officers, every year to be able to make up for the number that we can actually police Nigeria. Well, unfortunately, the people there, the civil service then, they could not advise the presidency or the president that, look, the facility we have cannot accommodate 50,000 police officers, but 13,000 police officers. But unfortunately, you just said, yes, sir. And then they started hiring 50,000 people for 13,000 space, available space for training people. So with that, over the years, majority of our police officers were not trained. So we just have people carrying guns who were there because one politician signed them in, because politicians have slots, kings have slots, pastors have slots. Most of the prominent people who are custodian of social behavior in our society have slots to bring in people into the police. So with this, the police continue to degenerate to the point where we have a police that is ruled by the culture of impunity. So this is the little bit of the journey that people who are protesting for EndSARS on the street probably will not be able to articulate, because they don't really understand the history. They only started 2 weeks ago. They don't understand what history lies beneath the police, EndSARS, Reform Police NG movement and advocacy as a word. But the advocacy actually is geared towards bridging institutional gaps. That is the gap between the police and the public, because we believe that the police are the public and the public are the police. If the two institutions don't come together, we cannot have a secured and a proper internal security within our country. So this is exactly why we're doing what we've been doing over the years, while we're engaging the system and the authorities, the executives, the judiciary, the legislature. Simultaneously, we're also creating that stopgap to ensure we protect the youth on the street by intervening on their cases when they engage police officers. And we've done this for the past 4 years, starting from 2016. And 2017 was when the advocacy became public. And then over the years, in 2018, we had a stopgap, a protocol based on the presidential pronouncement that the police itself should be overhauled and restructured. But again, that particular order wasn't directed at the right channels or right people who are actually equipped to do the necessary reforms, to put the reforms in place. So it was more or less a pronouncement other than something that is backed by law. But today we are thankful that we have been able to facilitate 2 bills, that is the Police Trust Fund Bill and the Police Act of 2020, which has repositioned the Nigerian police for our democracy. In other words, it has repositioned them for transparency, for accountability, to uphold human rights and also the rule of law, and also to collaborate with organizations within the society who can actually bring the best out of them. So this, if there's anything that we say we have gained over the years, is to actually get the Nigerian society wind of the culture of impunity as backed by law, by the 1943 Police Act, and it has repositioned it for enhanced service delivery under the 2020 Police Act. So let me take your question.
Yeah, speaking of the protesters articulating exactly what police brutality and the EndSARS protests are exactly, I mean, how did all this start? What triggered the EndSARS protests, and how did you become a part of that particular movement?
Yeah, what triggered this was, like I said, over the years, since 2015, I have been monitoring the system enough to know that impunity is going to spike, because I realized the mentality of the people when we had a new administration, where everybody felt, if I'm wearing uniform, I can do anything that I like, because the person who is in power now is a former military ruler and is somebody who is kind of known for being very disciplined and all. So with that, anything we do will pass. So a lot of people felt that it's a period where people can do whatever that seemed right in their own eyes. And as it were, the IG that we had then as well also allowed these men to have a free hand to do things. So when I started getting reports, about people facing police brutality, and when I say police brutality, it's not just about police beating people up. It's about police matching people to the ATM machine to wipe out their accounts. It's about police breaking into homes, abducting people, and then taking them somewhere and asking for ransom outrightly. It's about people, shooting people and telling them, I'm going to kill you and nothing is going to happen. And truly nothing happens because nobody investigates such crimes. And also it's about people being too afraid to come out to say, this was my encounter with police officers. Of course, it's very difficult at that time because we do not have an organization that they can go to report police impunity. So with that, you only have the police. And when you go to the police to report police abuse, you're not going to get justice because it's like a cult. It's like you're dealing with a cult group who will always support themselves. And corruption within the police system is peer-induced and peer-reinforced, which means there's no way you get justice from them if you report any cases. So with that, people just kept mute onto themselves until we started the advocacy in 2017 officially, where people can actually call us, to intervene on their cases. And then we started partnering also with the police complaint response unit, where we share ideas, share notes, share data, and make sure that justice is served within the system and also without it.
All right, let's talk about the EndSARS protests themselves. What went right and what went wrong?
Yeah, the EndSARS protests, as well, like I told you, it's a different ball game from the advocacy. There's no convener for the EndSARS protest. There is a convener for the EndSARS advocacy, which is known to government and known to Nigerians as well. So there's no question about who the convener is or that. But as far as the protest is concerned, in Nigeria, everybody has the right to protest. You can decide to come out of your house, gather your friends and families, and then decide to protest. Because the Constitution guarantees this. It's part of your fundamental human right. Right to gather, right to assemble, right to meet people, right to protest, and what have you. So when they started, I supported it as a citizen of Nigeria, as somebody who believes in humanity, who believes in human rights, that people have the right to protest if they want to. But I was of the opinion that if you're going to protest based on the EndSARS narrative, you at least need to understand what has been done thus far on that particular dialogue. So without your understanding of what has been done, your coming out actually may be defeated, because at the end of the day, you're talking to government about something that they're already working on, and you don't even have information about how far they've gone on that particular narrative. So it's going to be counterproductive as it were. But again, for the protest, it wasn't really strategic. It was all about the anger. Also for some, it was about the hunger, and also it was about the availability. People were available. They were angry, and it was just that was the only proposition. We are angry, we are mad, and we want to do something about it. And because of that, they came out to the street. And because of the emotions that were there, void of logic, people felt it was an opportunity for them to do as they please. That's begin to show you also that the society as well as the police structure is no different, because the police also came from our society. So the impunity you see or you find in the police somewhat is also found within the society. So with that, I felt that there was a need immediately to caution the organizers of the protest if they were going to associate themselves with the EndSARS narrative. But of course, it was misconstrued. It wasn't seen in the proper light. It was seen as though I wanted to control their rights to protest and the rest. I felt this actually wasn't the situation. But of course, there was really no basis for there to be an instruction from anywhere, an attempt to control anyone or, you know. So I just felt, look, nobody wants to control, nobody wants to lead. It's not about making it about any person. We're simply saying, can we at least reason together so that you can situate what you're doing upon something that actually works, that will give you a result that you will like, that will be desirable, at least that will make you less angry. But of course, the police didn't really make the things easier also for the people. The police actually, while the people were still contemplating on protesting or not protesting, the police were trying to buy their way into stopping them from from protesting. That was when Naira Marley, one of our musicians, one young musicians out there in Nigeria, was talking online that I want to lead the protest. If anybody wants to come out to protest, I want to lead it, and the rest. And then people were like, well, if you're going to lead it, we're going to come out. And then he was like, okay, if you are going to come out, then I will lead it. Then in the process, I think the police engaged him, and they said, let's have an Instagram chat, and then from there we will know whether you still want to protest, or you are okay with the answers that we give. And of course, the Instagram live interview came on, and the guy felt satisfied that there's no point to take to the street based on the answers that was given to him. And so, of course, this actually annoyed people the more. That what do you take us for? Naira Marley doesn't speak for us. He's not the representative of the youth. We are still angry. And right now, you have made us more angry, and we're still going to go out to protest. So when it got to this point, Fowles, Runtown decided to lead the protest, which they actually got in touch with me for. And they said they would like for me to come out and address the people at the protest. And I said, no problem with that. I will come as myself, not as the advocacy or as the convener of anything. I'm going to come as a citizen of Nigeria to address the people. And because we live on two different sides of the divide in Lagos, I decided to go to the closest assembly point to me, which is at the Lagos State House of Assembly, where I went. I addressed the protesters, and I also addressed the police, on that day, just to let the police understand. That's the SARS anyway, before SARS was banned. Was dissolved. So I addressed them also, not to take this personal, but to understand the anger of the people, that there are some of them who have actually who have failed to make a believer of them, who have failed who they have failed to make a believer of. So based on that, I said, let them express themselves. At the end of this, you will see the action of government. If they decide to shut you down, it will be for good. And if they decide to reform you, it will also be for good. But whichever way, you know that culture of impunity is dead. Because right now, the people are already protesting. We have done our bit structurally, because there is no change you can bring to any country without legislation. And it is also found for advocates who know their onions, street protests don't write policies. So you cannot say because you have a mammoth crowd or a sea of angry people, because of that, government quickly went into the drawing board and started drafting bills. It doesn't happen that way. There must be advocates who would take the articulated points of the people to the government, sit down, put policies together, look at the extant laws, write one or repeal and replace laws if necessary, and begin to put change in place. A kind of change that cannot be upturned by any other person. And this is exactly what we have done over the years. So the protest itself, it's really a way of saying, if the Nigerian government are taking their time to do this, they should know now that they should expedite action on it, because the people are ready to sleep on the street until they get a kind of country or kind of police system that works for them. But okay.
Yeah, Segun, Nigeria has had a special unit, police special unit, for about 18 years. So why now? Why do you think now government will listen to the citizens?
Well, it was an ad hoc program. The tactical squads, especially SARS, was an ad hoc program that was set up in 18 years ago by a military rule. And the military rule actually created it because of a particular problem, as at that time it was addressing that particular problem then, when we have armed criminals that could not be faced by the normal police officers. So they created a strike force that can meet the criminality at their point of sophistication as at the time. But over the years, because of the lack of budgeting, lack of care, lack of leadership, lack of monitoring, and the rest, administration and the rest, they allowed the SARS to be derelict over the years. So they were just doing anything they like. But unfortunately, that is only the reality of the southern Nigeria, of those in southern Nigeria. In the north, the SARS operatives are doing fine. They are protecting the people. The SARS operatives are doing, they are doing their jobs. They are, they are keeping the peace in the north. But in the south, they are idle most of the time, and they get to do, other things that they are not lawfully meant to do. So, which is why when we say EndSARS, to the northern citizens, they feel we're actually threatening their peace in the north. And when they say reform SARS, to us in the south, we feel, oh, you want us to continue to live under impunity of SARS. So until we're able to come to the table to understand the realities of both part of the country, before we decide to say, look, SARS must go, but while SARS goes away, we are going to have an ad team, which is just a temporary arrangement for security in town, both in the north and across the country, while those people are away, while they train new people who will now occupy that space without operating the way SARS were operating before. In other words, we're looking at tactical squads who only responds to cases of armed robbery, cases of kidnapping, cases of cultism, without being found all over the place. They only come out to do their job and they get back in. You probably will never see them in a lifetime. Just like the SWAT you have in America and the rest, they don't just hang around the streets. They come in to do a job and they go back in. And that's what we're looking at now. But people in Nigeria, again, there's something you need to understand. Any police officer that is not wearing uniform is deemed as SARS in this country. Because people can't identify them because of the way they dress.
So how can people know the difference? I mean, you exactly. Might know, but
I might know, but a lot of people don't know. So when we are doing interventions, we can get whether it is actually SARS or so. But I can tell you, in Lagos, for example, the cases we've seen in the past 2 years have nothing to do with SARS. They were actually anti-kidnapping or police officers who will just remove their uniform from some police stations who are just committing crime because they know they will blame it on another unit. So that's the situation that we have.
That narrative, Segun, that narrative, does it make you popular or get you hated in Nigeria right now when you say this? Because people in Nigeria believe SARS is bad, SARS must just end, SARS is terrible. But when you now come out and say that it's the ordinary police actually hiding behind SARS, I mean, how do people make such a statement in Nigeria?
Let me explain something to you. SARS had a history of crime. I am not absolving them, okay? SARS have a very, very terrible history when it comes to, if you look at what happened in Akuzu, what happened in Abattoir, what happened in all those period of, before 2017 when we started. They had a very, very bad history, which is one of the reasons why they were the poster child for the advocacy for the culture of impunity. That's why we named the advocacy EndSARS Reform Police NG. EndSARS does not specifically mean EndSARS alone. It means end all tactical squads that are killing the people with impunity. Do you understand? Okay. Like I said, we designed the advocacy. So every single thing we did was intentional. It is not just about you just naming things or so. It's not about the emotions. It was strategic. Okay? So it is not also, what I'm saying is not a defense of anybody. It's simply to tell you what is. And that's the truth about the whole matter. We call everything SARS in Nigeria because we know that any officer who is not wearing uniform is probably SARS because they are all corrupt. But the truth is, they are not all corrupt. There are good officers within the SARS system. But like I said, the Lagos situation is not the Rivers situation. It's not the Anambra situation. It's not, in other states, SARS are hell. SARS are evil. SARS are everything. Okay? But for Lagos, I'm telling you about Lagos State, for example. Since 2017, the SARS that we have in Lagos State have been performing. They have been doing well. But there are other people who are there are other hybrids of SARS who are not FSARS. For example, anti-cultism unit, anti-kidnapping unit, who are still acting as though all the things we are talking about, reforms, EndSARS and the rest, has nothing to do with them. Because when they commit an offense, it is SARS that people will call. They won't call SACS, they won't call SACS, they won't call ZIS, they won't call STS, they won't call IRT, they won't call, there are so many other, they won't call all these other ones. So there are several hybrids of these things, these people. I can give you also another example, because this is going to be like my last interview with any platform, because we'll
Oh,
start. Yeah, because
good.
we're going to start the sitting for the judicial panel. So I will not be able to speak on, because if I speak again to anybody else, I will have to be recusing myself from the panel, because it shows that
Great.
I'm so for objectivity. So based on that, I'm just saying. So I'm just saying that the way it is, there is a lot of moving parts within this narrative, which Nigerians probably don't really get a wind of as such, even though we put everything that we do out there for people to understand. But of late, of recent, in the past 3-4 months or so, we've been able to call out through investigation the STS and the IRT, to the point where we brought out the things that they have been doing to Nigerians, the crimes they've been committing against Nigerians, to the point where they were shut down all over Nigeria and restricted to Abuja, because they used to kidnap people. When they kidnap people, they take huge ransoms, running into millions sometimes. There are cases where they were demanding 20 million from somebody. And there were cases where they took 15 million from somebody and they were saying, oh, if you don't pay the balance of 5 million, we're going to come and kill you. So we went on air to say this to the world, that look, if you don't shut, that was my last interview on Arise TV. I said, if you don't take this seriously, Nigerians will take to the streets and they will shut down the entire police system in this country. And that was my warning. But after that, what happened was that the police IG, shut them down after seeing and verifying the actions of these people, because we wrote a long petition on all that they've been doing all the while. So with that, we're able to shut them down. But again, we needed something more permanent. Nigerians don't want a case where people will have to call an individual before they can get justice with policing, with the police system. So they want a case where the police system will work for them the way police system work for other people in other countries, which is why they were saying, we will come to the street and we will protest and we will not leave the street until the president answers us. Because I think they are right also on that premise, because the president cannot be quiet. He is the one that gives orders to these police officers. He is the head of the police council. He is the one, nobody else directs the police in Nigeria but the president. So it is his right, it is his duty to talk to Nigerians, to engage Nigerians, to let them to address the issues that we've been dealing with for the past years. And I must say, this impunity didn't start under him. The police institution itself is 90 years old, and it's not something that the impunity didn't start today. It started long ago. So they are not going to change overnight all the same. So the reform process is not a dash. It's not a sprint. It's a marathon. So that's what we want Nigeria to understand.
But how can this be solved? I mean, I see comments here right now. People are saying that SARS is still out there harassing them. You are saying that there's also even the normal police acting as SARS. So how can people now differentiate? They could be even hoodlums. They could be even thugs. Harassing people in the name of SARS. So how can people now know the difference? How can they differentiate?
The order has gone out. SARS have been shut down nationally. And all the officers of SARS that were available across the state, they are undergoing psychological evaluation now. They have been told to report to certain centers for psychological evaluation. It is after that they will be retrained again, and they will go through several processes before they are, if at all, they will be incorporated. I doubt if they will be incorporated into the new system. There's a new team being being trained right now to take over, and it will take a while. So there are no SARS officers out there. If you see anybody who is not in uniform, you need to report to the judicial panel in your state. That is the duty of every citizen. It is not just sitting down expecting magic to happen. Report these things, report these cases, report these sightings. Of course, there are different units of other police. We have the CTU. We also have the mobile police force. We also have, there are some other units who are standing in place of SARS, but you will not see them on the street stopping people. If you see any police officer stopping people on the street who is not wearing full uniform, they are not SARS officers. They are probably police from the division. Ask them questions. And if you get the questions from them, if you don't get the right answers from them, there are numbers to report to. Report to this police CRU. The complaint response unit is also there. for you to, to report to. Or you report to, if you are violated by any of these police officers, report to the judicial panel in your state, and they will take this thing up. Gather your evidence and report, and you get compensated for it.
All right, there's some people that are saying that they're still on the streets in Port Harcourt. I think you're talking about Lagos, right? You say that in other states they are, they're ruthless. I mean, when you talk of SARS.
Nationally, they have been shut down nationally. If you're still seeing them in Port Harcourt and Rivers, please report to the CRU or report to the judicial panel in your state. Please do that.
All right. But anyway, a lot of them are arguing with you here that how do you even report SARS when you're in danger? There's no time to report before they attack you. But I don't know if you can answer that, Segun.
Yes, you can report. People have been reporting for the past 4 years, and they've been getting justice, and there has not been mortal retribution to their person. You have never heard anyone who reported this of police officers to our organization and then gets punished by anybody. It doesn't happen. It has never happened. So please report.
All right, Segun, a few days after you were named as member of the Lagos State Judicial Panel on SARS, you publicly declared that you are no longer part of the SARS movement. Many took this as, SARS protests. Many took this as an indication that you've been brought over to the side of government. Many took it wrongly. There were a lot of different narratives to that idea that you said you're no longer a part of this movement. What exactly went wrong?
Yeah, I believe that people emotions are high, and people are trying as much as possible to have their way, eat their cake and have it. It is actually the things we've been doing over the years with personal funds, the things we've been doing over the years by with the graciousness of our heart for the people on a national scale have not been taken up by different states in the federation. So there's no point reinventing the wheel any longer. Government is being responsible for what they ought to do. So there's no how that I'm going to continue to do what I used to do all over the years when government is taking over the activities, especially in order to get you justice and also get you compensation for the harassment. That's on the one hand. On the second hand, I cannot be bought because I have not been bought all over the years. I don't need anything from anybody, not even from the people talking. I don't need your money. I don't need you to vote me. I'm not a politician. I don't want anything from you whatsoever. So there's really no basis for you to say I've been bought. Okay. And secondly, I had to declare the difference between the advocacy and the protest, because the protest claims they don't want any leadership. And if they don't want any leadership, that means they must be willing to confront the consequences of their choices. So there's no point me being there and not being there. If I'm going to be there, you must listen to the things that pertains to the advocacy so that you don't make mistakes. But because they don't want leadership, I must separate the advocacy, which has a name, which has integrity, which is known by government, which has a record, a track record of engaging authorities, of facilitating bills, of ensuring that nobody dies while we do what we do. We've been passing bills, we've been saving lives for years. Nobody has associated death with EndSARS. But today, 2 weeks of activities of Nigerians doing their own thing with emotions, no leader, no strategy, no nothing, we're counting dead bodies. And that is not something that brings happiness to me. So if I had not declared the separation of the advocacy and the protest, they would have destroyed all the work of years of the advocacy. And probably I'll be answering questions that I don't have answers to today. So which is why the needful need to be done. God is not an author of confusion. He's an author of order. God is a God of order. And I serve God and I'm in God in flesh. So there's no how I'm going to accept and sit down and allow people to do whatever they like and then take the blame for it. It doesn't happen that way. So if you want to do your own thing, you're free. Go ahead and do whatever it is you want to do. Okay? But if you also want to do something right and get right result from it, let us think together and work together. If you are writing a research or a thesis, you don't just start on your own and start running wild. You need to find out what has been done on that particular topic. You do your research to find out where the extent to which work has been done on that particular topic, so that you can build on what has been, not start afresh. So that's exactly what's going on. So it's not about, there's no there's really no attempt for anyone to lay claims to the ownership of you. I am operating as a private citizen. I'm operating as a citizen of Nigeria. If there's anything you feel I'm not doing enough, start doing it yourself and contribute to humanity. So I don't, or on the other hand, you can call your governors, you can call your senators, you can call your president. These people are people you employed and you voted into power. That's why they are there for you. I am not somebody you can push around or control or tell to do certain things. I'm a private citizen.
All right. Is it true that there's been misuse of funds? Some people were collecting funds in the name of EndSARS protests, EndSARS movement. A lot has been happening. Is that true? I mean,
it could be true because
yeah,
it could be true, but I'm not interested in that. In as much as the advocacy have been running on its course without asking for anything from Nigerians, we'll continue to run the advocacy. Whatever the protests decide to do, it is the duty of Nigerian youth to question those people who are collecting money on whatever guise, under different guises. I'm not interested in that. I don't have anything to do with that. My own job and my own duty as a human being is to save the lives of my fellow countrymen. And I do it within my own capacity. And I do that, as a contribution to society for the sake of all our children. Not for anything. Not for the sake of being liked. Not for the sake of being praised. Not for the sake of being followed. Not on the sake of anything. I just do it for my own personal what have you. So it's that. And I'm
all right. So how, as someone who's been fighting end police brutality and SARS for years as an advocate, when you saw international support on Twitter, on social media, Instagram, everywhere, how did you feel? How was it for you, Segun, when the EndSARS protest started initially?
Well, I feel happy initially with the organic coagulation of people coming out to use EndSARS globally and all. I was happy because it's like you manufacturing something under the roof of your house, and then you are distributed to a few people. Then the next day you saw it all over the place. Sometimes you will not even mind the infringement of copyright and the rest. You just feel, you know what, you've taken this over. And besides, by the design of the hashtag anyways, it is meant to be used and adopted by people. So if the people have adopted the hashtag and made it their own, it is still within their rights. I'm happy. I'm fulfilled that you finally understand what I'm saying. But again, if you are going to protest, people have always said that we are having a peaceful protest. Peaceful protest in a polarized environment like Nigeria, where everything is heated up, is an oxymoron. It's a paradox, meaning you only can vouch for the peace you brought to the protest ground. You can't say anything about whatever any other person brought. And because you have declared an all-out protest, which is being funded, people are hearing, these are people who are mostly, there are people who are hungry, there are people who are angry, there are people who are idle, and there are people who just want fun. And they saw that now somebody have declared everyday carnival on the highway. They're going to come there with whatever it is that they are bringing to the table. Those who are going to be burning buildings will be burning buildings. Those who are going to be cutting away with goods and breaking into stores will be breaking into stores at your expense. But this youth did not factor in this aspect. They are only looking from their own perspective. We are peaceful, we are protesting, and at the end of the day, a lot of things are happening all over the place in the name of the same EndSARS. So you see the dilemma of those who believe that they are doing something right in their own eyes when they have opened up the space for a lot of other things. So I had to come to the media to say EndSARS protesters are not hooligans, EndSARS protesters are not jailbreakers, EndSARS protesters are not murderers. They are simply protesting them peacefully on the grounds there. Don't associate or pin anything on them. I'm saying that because I want to believe that I can at least vouch for the citizens that are out there, that is the peace-loving citizens who are genuinely angry about the way what our police have become and who feels they need to go out there and express themselves. There are people like that in that category. And there are other people who are running their own agenda within that mix. So you cannot run away from that fact. You cannot be binary about that, thinking that, oh, everybody else is peaceful because I am peaceful. No, it doesn't work that way. Because unless you want to claim that you are the one breaking into shops as well. So it doesn't go for everybody because somebody is breaking into shops, somebody is burning houses, somebody is burning companies, somebody is destroying public property. You understand? So we need to place things where they are. And this, imagine, just think for a moment, if on the second day of the protest, the protesters decide to say, now that government have listened to what we've got to say, they've accepted the 505, we're stepping back for a bit and monitoring what they are going to do. If they don't do what we want by the end of 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, we're going to come back to the street. Remember, a lot of events will have been eclipsed. A lot of events will have not happened. So this is exactly what I mean by strategy. But there weren't any, because they were not listening to anybody, and they wanted to, they feel that anybody who has a name who comes on board will take over the glory. I don't know what that means anyway till today. I don't know what glory means, you know, because something somebody has been doing for years. I didn't feel that some glory is going out when somebody jumped on the hashtag. So I felt I supported and everything. So what is the glory there? So I think the ego, the general glory in lack of strategy, in lack of apprehension of the future, lack of understanding of security, lack of understanding of due process, and so many other things, or lack of understanding of how government works. Sometimes if you don't know how government works, you just do anything you like. The fact that there's this proverb, or this apothegm that says that a man in a burning house always assumes the world is burning. The world is not burning, it's just your house. So when you take over a few streets and you think you have taken over government, that's not the reality of things. So that's why you need to listen to people who see beyond what you see and take advisory from people who have been there before, long before you could speak. So with this, you will get a fundamental understanding of what you're doing. We cannot build Nigeria without the experience and the wealth of knowledge and the wisdom of the old as fused with the energy of the young. I pray for our young people. I'm fighting because of them. I'm doing the little that I'm doing in collaboration with other organizations as well as my organization to ensure that because they are the future of Nigeria. They are the future. They are the leaders of today, not even tomorrow. They have technology on their hands. They have phones. They have knowledge. There are so many things they can do. It is our duty to create that enabling environment for them to thrive, even if the people ahead of us didn't do the same for us. So that's exactly the gap that we are feeling here. Myself as a person, this is one of the things I want to be remembered for, that I created a platform for youth to come up. And that's exactly why the EndSARS advocacy was there. And that's why I was happy for them when they took on the mantle to say, we are going to raise funds for this and we're going to do this. And the funniest thing is this. The advocacy is, to an extent, focused on delivering men and saving young men and all. But unfortunately, or fortunately, it was astonishing to find that young women, especially the feminists, you know, for that matter, you know, which is not really the group at risk, who are taking up the advocacy vanguard to say, we are doing this. So I was actually happy for them, you know, until, you know, some people felt, oh, maybe because of some skirmishes, a group of people who named themselves feminists have had with us on certain cases, that probably I'm going to take that out on them. I don't know how people project their weaknesses upon issues. I say men are compartmentalized in their thinking. When I'm dealing with issues of protecting the vulnerable in society, that is that issue for me. I don't care what you ate for dinner. I don't care your sexual orientation. I don't care whether you're a vegetarian. I don't care whether you are your gender. I just see you as a human being. So when we're dealing with issues like this, you separate it from other issues entirely. So which is why I'm saying, in fact, a lot of women have benefited from our advocacy. We have a lot of lawyers who are called to bar, who are being trained by us. We have a lot of doctors who have met from the medical school, who were training as we speak over the years. So it's not about, you know, any of those things. We are not given to divisions. So of course, you know, people really can't tell much from the tweets and all, you know, unless they meet you in person. So I think as we grow, we'll be able to firm up our relationships. We'll be able to understand our differences and make best use of our diversity enough to build Nigeria. We need to build Nigeria, and Nigeria belongs to everybody.
All right, Segun, let's analyze the president's speech. I mean, we are sitting all over in the world, watching activities happening in Nigeria. Everybody was anticipating this or that out of the president's speech. Then the president's speech was made. You yourself as Segun, how did you feel about that speech? Were your issues addressed?
Well, like I said, there's an ongoing conversation with different arms of government. The judiciary, when we approached them in 2017, What they did was they contributed by making sure the Administration of Criminal Justice Act 2015 was domesticated across Nigeria, which was a big thing. Well, we only needed to follow up by making sure that everybody understands what is in that law. In other words, things like police cannot arrest you in lieu of another person, police cannot detain you more than 24 hours or 48 hours at the most, police cannot they cannot whisk you away without reading you your rights, and there's so many things like that. So that's one of the things that they did for us. For the legislature, we sat with the legislature since 2017 to design and to bring about police bills, police trust fund bill, which actually helps the police to have operational fluidity with the provision of funding from different sectors of the economy through deductions, 0.05% from different sectors. And also, it also enables organizations like ours to give to the police. We can decide to build the police, we can decide to say, okay, all the police stations within the 704 local governments are going to be refurbished by Association of Builders in Nigeria, Association of Architects in Nigeria, Association of Accountants in Nigeria. So that becomes possible because of that bill. Then also the Police Act itself, which is the Police Act 2020, which begins to look at the remuneration of police, the training of police, the retraining of police, the provision of equipment, and so many other things. So the two laws combined, which has been signed into law by the president, actually repositions the police for better. So there's nothing the president will address that have not been addressed through the bills that we have actually passed into law. So what
people were expecting
yes.
the president to address, especially the Lekki massacre.
Exactly. Yeah. I was full of expectations because I felt, oh, finally, we will hear from the president, who probably must have gotten different briefs on what has happened in Lagos and across Nigeria, where things are happening. In Abuja, people were killed in Abuja, people were killed in Anambra, police were killed in places, and human beings also were shot in different parts of Nigeria. So I believe that by then, the president will have gotten a brief and was going to give us an empathetic speech that will trigger reconciliation, that will trigger the fixing of trust and what have you. And at the end of the day, what I got after I got the translation and the rest of what it actually meant and the rest, I wasn't really happy and I was short of words. So if you look at my Twitter account, I just put an emoji there, which a lot of people interpreted differently in thousands of ways. You know, but
I think you're naturally misunderstood even on Twitter because I follow you on Twitter and I see how sometimes yeah. All right. So how do you think government can now restore dignity into the police force?
Well, like I said, a lot needs to be done. Police didn't get bad overnight, and they will not stop being bad overnight. So it has to go through a process. There needs to be a lot of weeding. There needs to be a lot of injection of new blood. There need to be a lot of people that are complaining online also need to join the police in order to ensure that they bring in their own enthusiasm, passion into the work to serve their nation. Most of the people who are in the police system now probably came in because they want to make money or there's no job. But we're looking for people who will come and join the police because they want to serve their nation and they want to bring about some level of sanity into the system. You know, so that's on the one hand. And on the other hand, government needs to deliberately and intentionally focus on the conduct of the police. Because in every civilization, there is no civilization without law and order. And law and order is enforced by the police. And if the people who are enforcing law and order are not disciplined, they are not lawful, they are not accountable, they are not transparent, they don't obey human rights, they don't obey the rule of law, they don't collaborate with society, they don't engage the public, even when they are not prosecuting crime, then there's going to be a problem. There's going to be a problem. And we cannot have a society where there's enmity between the people and the police, because the police is the closest authority to the people, and it's also there's also the monopoly of violence of the government. So there must be a union between the police and the people, and it starts with enforcement of or implementation, full implementation of intelligence-led policing. For example, over the years, I know how many police officers we've been able to arrest for committing crimes against the people. I don't carry guns. So it's through intelligence, through investigations, through gathering of data, through gathering of reports. So they can do that too. By engaging the public enough to share information with the public, we get information from the public. So that's the information we use to arrest officers who are committing offenses. So if they use the information they get from the public, if the public can trust them, then they will win more souls, win more hearts, and then solve more crimes than carrying AK-47 on Nigerian streets and shooting down the innocent. So we don't really need bigger weapons. We need bigger brains. So secondly, there's something called community policing. Community policing philosophy is that which actually enables police system structure to engage the society enough to know and understand how society operates. By living with society, the barracking idea needs to go. They need to shut down the police living in dirty barracks and crazy slums and places like that, and get them houses within the society where reputable people live, so that they can know people, engage with the people, their children going to school with other people, so that they can actually understand how people work. Then also, just as it is that the future of every sector is the private sector, then the future of policing is actually state policing. But Nigeria cannot begin to talk about state policing today, because we need to restructure Nigeria before we can begin to talk about state policing. Because the states themselves must control their resources, must manage their own affairs before they can manage their own police. But now police is still centralized as a federal police. Even though we have divisions, we have area commands, we have zonal commands and the rest, it has not proven to be functional enough to engage or penetrate society enough for them to win trust. So we need to win trust right now, because a lot of things have gone wrong. And especially with what has happened with the protest, it will take quite a while for us to get back to where we used to be, not to talk of where we hope to be.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask you that as my last question, Segun, that, okay, the EndSARS protest happened. You are an advocate against end police brutality. So what happens next? What is going to happen now that people protested against the EndSARS, against the EndSARS? The government has spoken, the president gave his speech, that is his stand. Then what happens next?
Well, I think for those who are well-read, the future is this: we need to come together as a people. Both the advocacy and those who want to protest must come together and understand why they are doing what they are doing, so that we can be more knowledgeable about what to demand from government, know where the gaps are, and know how to key into those gaps and demand what is right. And there are ways in which you can protest without endangering your own lives. Okay? You have to be more strategic, because you know that there are other citizens in Nigeria who have the right to join your protest, who you can't prevent, who don't understand what you understand, who don't speak what you speak, who are not as educated as you are, who are not as informed as you are, who are also not as peaceful as you are. So you need to understand that the moment you're taken to the street, you're opening yourself up to a lot of things, which you probably will be held liable for, as the case may be. So there are better ways of doing it. You have technology on your side. You also have ability to retain narrative longer than government, because it is about you. You have 70% of 200 million population. So you are Nigeria. When the Nigerian youth come together to speak, it is Nigeria that is speaking, because you have the highest population. So I think the future here and what going forward is that all our differences must be put aside. We must all come together. We must forgive ourselves. We must stop hating on each other. We must stop abusing each other or issuing death threat to each other, because you can't be in that position and be blaming SARS. That shows that you are the same. That means you have become the demon and the devil that you are fighting. So you must not be like that. You must show example. You must lead from where you are. You must show the government that Nigerian youth have a promise of a better environment, a promise of a better future, even after they are long gone. So you must begin to demonstrate leadership from where you are, because leadership has nothing to do with public office. I am not in any public office. I am in my private environment, and I'm still exercising leadership, and you can as well. So nobody is dominating everybody. We are all equals. There's nobody superior to one another. There are some things that you have that other people don't have. There are some things that you have that I need. So you need to believe more in yourself, and then begin to express don't let anybody shut you up. Express what you have. Everybody is needed. Everybody is required. Everybody is a leader. We are together working, fighting side by side and growing laterally. Nobody is above anybody else. So nobody has a big name, nobody has a small name. We are all together. We are all Nigerians. And this is exactly how we have been operating. So there's no such thing as we are the ones running the protest. We are excluding other people. We are the ones. No, there's no such thing. Nigeria must work for everybody. Nigeria must belong to everybody. It belongs to everybody. And nobody is more Nigerian than any Nigerian. So with this in mind, we can all come together and ensure that Nigeria works for us. And while we're doing that, this momentum that have been gathered must not be lost, because 2023 is coming. Imagine if you come together like this to float a political party, to protect your vote, to stand by your vote and ensure it counts. You are controlling the country already, because you will have your own president that represents what you have. So this is exactly what I believe in. So all this hating, crying, fighting and all is not necessary. This is the time to plan. This is the time to hit the ground running. This is time to begin to take the words to the streets. Talk to, if you see all those hoodlums and all, let them understand that they are being used. Let them understand that they have a future too. Let them understand that you care about their future as well. Let them understand that you need them for the Nigerian narrative towards the birthing of the new Nigeria. So this is exactly the responsibility of everybody, to make an evangelist of another person, to make an evangelist of other Nigerians. The things that we are doing here, we're not doing what we're doing because we're making money. We're not raising funds. We don't have public grants. We don't have anything. But we're doing what we're doing to encourage you out there, to let you know that you have something to give. Everybody has something to give. Even if it's only your tweet, even if it's only your Instagram post, even if it's only your messages to other people, it's something. So when we continue to build this momentum, by 2023, no crazy people is going to get into power to come and turn our country into what it is today. So the future belongs to you. I am for you. I am with you. I will never depart from the people. I will always be serving the people, regardless of what position that I probably may be serving in or so. I'm not talking about political positions now. I'm talking about giving my my experience to panels, judicial these inquiries, and the rest of it. It will not stop me from listening to your cry or coming there for you or intervening on your cases, ensuring you get justice. That's exactly why we are here. Peace, justice, equity, strong institutions, and quality education. This is exactly the SDG goals that we are supporting and we're pushing against 2030. So I want to thank you for listening. I want to thank you for listening to all the things I've got to say tonight. And I'm sure a lot of people who came here angry, who came here with mixed feelings and all, they've learned a little bit of things. And this is the kind of conversation we ought to have had before we hit the street protesting. So with that, we wouldn't get things wrong. We will know how to strategize and make the government know that it is now time for Nigerian youth to demand accountability from their leadership without fear or favor. Okay? So it is not about political parties for me. It's not about who is president for me. It's about how enlightened Nigerian youth are. If you look at my name on Twitter or everywhere, it is Sega Leveler. What does Leveler mean? It means Sega the Awakener. So I am very glad that Nigerians are awakened today. You can come to the street and speak for your right. It makes me proud. But the fact that they shot at our innocent citizens who are singing the national anthem at Lekki, justice will be served. Everybody involved will be brought to book, and we will not rest until we get justice for them. So know that. And of course, for those who know how we operate, we don't believe in sacred cows. Even when SARS were feared and everybody was afraid to talk about it, we are out there risking our lives to save you. So I'm not afraid of anybody, and I can't be bought by anybody. So I'm here for the future of our children, all our children. So we are here to raise transformational leaders and enlighten